And once again, let me introduce my guest. A very good morning to you, Mr. Odoyo Owiri.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for making time to be with us.
Welcome all the time.
A pleasure. Honorable Samuel Pogijo, thank you very much for making time.
Asante, thank you.
Of course, we are still expecting Kibra MP, Honorable Peter Orero. And of course, later on, during the conversation, Kimilili MP, Honorable Ditmas Baraza, will be joining us. Now, gentlemen, let's just look at what is making headlines in the local dailies. And apart from the Gachagua ouster motion, because we'll be talking about it later on, Mr. Odoyo, let's begin with the social health insurance fund, because they call it the making of a grand health sham. That is what the people daily call it. Now, from where you sit, is this the proper solution that we needed in matters provision of healthcare?
I have noticed that it is fashionable to call every new project by this current government a sham, a scandal, and such things. Yet we have had worse in the past. I think there is a group in the background that their primary agenda and goal is to paint the current government as dirty as possible. Some of them including even citing projects that were started in the previous government and today calling them a sham. I have myself not internalized what is a sham about this new health cover. But I also must say I am not very conversant with why it is coming up. But this idea of blacklisting every new project by this government, I think it is a fashion that we must stop for now. We must give this government a chance to work for 5 years and then evaluate them at the end of it. Most of these things this government are being accused of are things that they have not even started, let alone this, including the one at the airport. It is being called the greatest of scandals. Nothing can be a greater scandal than Expressway, than SGR, all those. But nobody talked about them. Today, when President William Ruto is in office, everything that he brings up, including those were acceptable to people when they were in his manifesto, today we are blacklisting them. I think this is a fashion that we must stop. This must be let to go to the public. Let's try it after 2 years. Let's evaluate it and see it was good or bad.
Now, picking your sentiments, you've said, let us allow the government to work.
Yes.
But is the government itself allowing it, things to run because they're politicking left, right, and center?
I think that the politicians are politicking, not the government. We need to distinguish between government and politicians. Politicians can politic the way they want, but the government must be allowed to work. These people launching these things are not politicians. The CS for health is not a politician. Let them work and then evaluate them after a year or two. But this idea that you give somebody an exam for 5 hours, then after 1 hour you say he's failed, I think it is a way of getting it all wrong.
Let me just ask you one question before I engage Honorable Pogisho.
Yes.
We should allow the government to work.
Exactly.
We've seen the president,
yes,
his deputy,
yes,
and the lieutenants in parliament.
Yes.
They're always on top of cars. Are they working on top of cars?
Let me tell you what is happening, that people, in this country, people defend the things they like. They don't defend the correct positions. Okay. Actually, somebody has pulled the president out of his work schedule to go and defend himself out there. From this desk, I have said multiple times that the so-called Gen Z uprising was a coup against President William Ruto. And that is why he has to come out to defend his position that was given to him by the people of this country. I have never heard President William Ruto talk anything negative about his DP. But the reverse has been going around this country again and again.
Fair enough. A very good morning to you, Honorable Peter Orero. Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you very much. I'm here today to discuss. I'm sorry I was slightly late, but I'm here.
Thank you very much. Now, coming back to you, Honorable Pogisho, beginning with, I know you want to respond to whatever Mr. Odoyo has talked about, but beginning with the health scheme, from where you sit, will it solve our problems? Because Mr. Odoyo says it's not as calm as people want to call it, but there are very, very many pertinent questions about the entire program.
Actually, let me just begin by saying the elephant in the room for this government is the lack of trust. It's called the trust deficit. Whatever good the government tries to bring out, its questions are taken with a pinch of salt. And so it doesn't matter. If today they introduce an electric car, I mean, we would still question it because the trust is gone. I mean, the trust, the people have kind of lost trust in this thing. So anything that's nice is taken with a question mark. And I keep saying that the best thing for this government to do is to rebuild trust, to bring back the trust to the people. Let the people begin to think this is something positive. So when the members of this society, for example, hear what Parliament was discussing yesterday, on the same, and the Committee of Health is questioning the same, you know, you'd wonder why would people not have a problem trusting it? The questions are bound in that nobody has come out very clearly. Let me just tell you that one of the ways to rebuild trust is clarity in communication. Clarity. And the problem with the thing is shrouded with a cloud, a dark cloud. It's shrouded with obscurity and it's not clear what it really is. The questions are that if the first organization we had, the NHIF, what went wrong with it? Number two, what's going to happen to its transition or assets? What's going to happen to its accounts? What happens to my account in the NHIF? And so on. And then, is this really necessary for this hour for us to transit now? Anything transitional, including the university funding model and all these things, including even the primary curriculum and so on, the JSS and so on. Anything transitional now is being questioned because Kenyans want to know, is this our priority now? Or is our priority basic needs that we are lacking? We are lacking basic security, we are lacking, the country is basically having no money, the people don't have money in their hands. And so we're introducing too many things that involve money. And so let's think about it. Why can't the government have a clear communication on everything, a clear public participation, so that people can actually share this thing and carry it with the same meaning? And so that's where the problem the government has.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. The biggest concern in most of these issues has been public participation. Honorable Orero, now, the ministry targets to register 12 million Kenyans. As of yesterday, because I was in the committee where CS Deborah Mulongo was giving updates on the same, at least 2.7 million Kenyans had registered themselves under the new program. But there are loopholes because, for example, the issue of how unsalaried Kenyans or unemployed Kenyans will contribute, and the CS was at pains to explain that. How will they contribute? And the PS was talking about, you know, the government working with financial institutions to ensure that if at all, at some point, you are unable to contribute, then these financial institutions will offer you loans to pay for this particular scheme. But what happens if at all someone defaults? What happens to them probably the following year?
Yeah, it is a tough one, especially for the government. Your statement could be a fallacy. The Electoral Commission, even registering people alone, and given billions of money, have not been able to register Kenyans. Now the shift, this new model, only 2.5 million have been registered. And you know, this is a health facility, and this is a program that is meant to serve all Kenyans. And the narrative behind this is that it is free service, health care service to all Kenyans. That is the narrative. And Kenyans outside there believe that they would soon start getting free health care in this country. But it has come with some conditions that even people who are not salaried will have to pay. And the modalities of this are not clear. Getting financial institutions to make the deficit, especially when people are in financial instability. And you know, all Kenyans now have financial instability, leave alone those who are working and all that. Okay. And the Mama Mboga down there, when he has been promised that from now on she or he will be getting free health care from any category of the hospitals, and that is what has been instilled in their minds, I think it is going to be very difficult to convince Kenyans that this new healthcare system is going to succeed. And also, you are talking about public participation. Now, just this weekend, the PS, the Ministry of Health, came to my constituency. Although I was not aware, but immediately they came, I was informed. They had come to conduct public participation, but without the knowledge of the public. They just appeared because we always have a kamkunji. I don't know, this is what they are going to do to all other people in Kenya. They came to my constituency to talk about this health care. But you see, this was supposed to have been done before it was introduced. Public participation normally shapes the opinion and the mind of the people. It should be done before something is commenced. But now this is done, that it has started. And when you look at the NHIF, for it to be disbanded, I think it was because they were saying it was a center of corruption and all that. And yet the people who are leading the NHIF are appointees of the government. And if they are sure it is corruption, why don't they go for those people who are at the help of that and allow the system to operate as it has been? All the same, now that we have moved to another health care, it is grounded with a lot of mystery. When you look at the papers, you look at the media, you look at the people who are involved, the name of Adani has been mentioned, one here or there, which I cannot prove. Until that time comes, up to now it is a rumor. But what we are saying is that the Kenyan people need a system which will satisfy them in terms of health facilities. I don't want to talk about other areas that my friend have talked about. So he's talking about the trust deficit. I think this is what we need to do. 2 weeks ago, I was called, we were to debate with the spokesman of the government, that is Maura, at Hot 96. We went with him together. When he realized that it was me with him, he told those people that he cannot share a platform with me, and he's the government spokesman. This is the level of communication, the trust that people are talking about. You need to communicate to the people and the world what your government is doing. But if you are not able to even share a platform with other members, I'm a member of parliament, then where do you want to share a platform? Who do you want to communicate with? So we are saying that this government must put the house in order. If it's about communicating with people, we must have the right personnel and people who are able to talk to the Kenyans.
Okay, Mr. Odoyo, I've seen you taking notes, but the conversation in the country, and Honorable Pogisha has talked about it, Honorable Rera has talked about it, the President himself has admitted to, failure to communicate properly. If the government cannot articulate its programs, if the government cannot reach out to the people directly and express and explain to them, then that alone is a failure on their side.
As I respond to that communication, allow me to plug in some loopholes in the statements that have been made. One of them is contribution into the SHA new scheme, especially by people who are unemployed. Even currently with NHIF, unemployed people have been contributing. In my own home, everyone was registered with HNIF, because if you don't register when you are caught up in a medical situation, there was nothing you could do. So they pay. Even now, people who are not employed do pay. The registration that is going on, that you see public participation, is to help those people who are not formally employed to contribute into this new scheme. So the contribution, the way it's done, is not going to be much different from what we have with the current NHIF. Mheshimiwa Orero had talked about, compared the registration of voters and the registration of people into the new health scheme. It is worth noting that in the health scheme, you register for yourself so that you can get a service in the future. In registration of voters, the voters in Kenya see that I am registering so that probably I would vote for Mheshimiwa Orero, or they see it as doing it for somebody else. This they are doing for themselves, and you would be so surprised at how many people will register. So I think the number that will register will be very high, because you are registering so that you will get the service in the future. Bringing in the case of Adani, I think we need to be fair. We need to, this Adani thing that has now is being used as a boogeyman to demonize everything has not even been signed. Assent has not even been lost. Let us talk about scandals that have been. Now, you brought in the idea of government communication to the people about these issues. I think last night I was seeing the CS Health talking about things. Mheshimiwa Orero has said that these people went to his constituency to communicate this thing. The only thing is the decibels coming from the detractors of the current government is louder. The anti-government politicians have been fed on steroids. They are louder. They are all over the place.
The president has admitted that they have failed in communication.
Who has failed?
He has blamed his communication team for some time.
Of course, it is good to have a president that sees wrong things in his own government and seeks out to correct them. If he said that, it means he's intending to correct them.
I wish they had put him as the government spokesperson. Yes. Because he has all the reasons. And
he's definitely putting it out there that he will have to correct that. If he did not admit, then you know he would not correct it. That is a situation that you expect to see a correction in the near future.
Fair enough. Just as we wind up on that issue, there was also an issue in terms of sample size, because the ministry says they did a pilot program in 8 counties, and across all the 8 counties they visited at least 2,000 people. So 2,000 people in 8 counties is such a small number. But let's just move away from that. Honorable Pogisho, the government has been accused of arbitrary arrests and abductions. And yesterday we saw a civic educator and activist Kebaso Morara arrested by people they termed as DCI detectives. He was taken to Nairobi Regional Headquarters, later on transferred to the DCI headquarters in Kiambu. But there is no clear reason as to why he was arrested. The president himself talked about this being a thing of the past, but we've been seeing it in recent weeks.
This is a very critical matter, and it's one of the things that soils the name of a government. One of the things that this government has to kind of run away from is the impression created that this government is busy, kidnapping and people disappearing and murders and so on, attributed to this government. And again, it comes back to clarity in communication in the way the government defends itself. And I'd like to see that we like to be the critics of a government, even if we are in government, or even if we are outside of government. I think the best part in being in government is to be able to tell the government the truth, to be able to tell them what is ailing it. And one of the things is, for example, let's talk about this young man now, Morara, being arrested. Why would the people arresting Morara be hooded? I mean, they should just come out as police, isn't it? Or DCI officials, and take him to the proper place where he's going to be processed properly. The idea that has really concerned Kenyans is why would you hide your identity, hide the vehicle identity, come with people who you're not sure where they're taking these people, and until there is a lot of noise. In fact, I'm very happy my brother here is talking about decibels being louder for against the government, because I mean it's always until there's so much noise that you hear that people have been dropped somewhere, they have then been released somewhere, and it is one of the things that the government needs to do to clean its image. But it can't clean an image when people still have not been found, when people still get arbitrarily arrested, arbitrarily detained. Okay, tomorrow we hope that they will bring, today or tomorrow, bring him to court. And yeah, let there be justice. Because really the strength of a country is it's a rule of law, and justice being our shield and defender, and according to our constitution and according to our national anthem. So yeah, I mean, all I can say, and I keep saying this, is a deficit of what you call, I keep repeating this thing called a trust deficit, because the moment anything happens in this country today, the president has to go on top of vehicles to defend himself. And I agree. I mean, my brother here should be on top of those vehicles defending the president, because he is doing it so well. But the people who are hired for that purpose are not doing it. So it causes the president to do it himself. You see, come to the thing we've just been talking about, the Shah. It is not, it's true that people have been paying in NHIF. It's true, because NHIF made it very clear that you'll be paying. But Shah made it almost a promissory note that if you're Mamamboga, you are lowly there, you'll be given a free thing. That's what people came to. So let's make it clear. Are we giving this to Mamambogas and borders and people who have no income? Or are we just charging them like everybody else, like NHIF was? If it's the case, then why did we remove NHIF? Why was there hope on this one? So anyway, on arbitrary arrests and so on, it has tainted the government very much. Okay. We have not seen the end of it, because apparently anybody who is a critic of the government stands then to be to fear for their lives, to fear to be picked up, and so on and so on. So we just want, can tolerance be there for government critics, because it is it's part and parcel of governance. The people who come and critique or criticize a government is part of a governance. Okay. This is how you change. This is how you improve. Okay. I saw the other day, was it on Sunday? A team from Azimio was being prevented from entering a church. I mean, those are the kind of things that give a government a bad name. Who is this official of government who stops people from going into a church? That's the person who is against the government. It's not these other guys. So I think we should be looking at that, and I'm just offering free advice that government needs to actually show that they are compassionate to their people, to the population, not punitive, not hunting down people like animals. Yes.
Fair enough. And just to quote what Kebaso's lawyer said, that is Pareno Solankal, they have restricted access and have strict instructions from the top not to allow any person access to Morara, including lawyers, media personnel, and any other persons. The question is, what type of police do we have? Now, Honorable Orero, even as we wind up on this particular newspaper review, Kebaso was from Kericho and Bomet doing civic education. And before he was arrested, he made a statement regarding a very concerning issue. And he wanted the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, to arrest Mombasa Governor Abdul Somad Sharif Nasser because of the issue that has been going around. The governor is accused of sending people to what term is absurd and sad, to sodomize a blogger in Mombasa, and the guy is still recuperating. Now, talking about that particular issue, because it's a very concerning issue, and for us as a country, we must talk about it and address that issue, because people are talking about now those in power trying to silence dissenting voices through such heinous acts.
I like history. When Kenya moved from a de jure to de facto party system, we were only a single party system. I remember those are the days that 5 men would not board one vehicle because you were thought to be planning against the government, with the day of Koigi wa Mwere Kenya. And we became a multi-party democracy. And that is the time that Kenya recognized the rights of people, and a democracy is where somebody is allowed to speak his or her mind without restriction. And I think Morara is just one of those few Kenyans who have come out to talk about certain ills that is inflicting this government. And just to speak your mind, surely does not mean that you are against the government. You are just criticizing the ills of that government. Okay. I watched a video yesterday about, I don't know whether it was the real thing of what happened in that sodomy in Mombasa. Almost 2-3 minutes video. And if you were to watch it as a person, you get traumatized of what happened, if it is really what happened to that person. I think that and I'm told, I think 5 or so.
And of course, including the CC for lands in Mombasa County was arrested, but later on he was released yesterday. Yeah,
so I think as a government, as an officer, these people must face the wrath of the law. And if those who are behind this heinous act must also be brought to books. We cannot have a country where such acts are done and they go scot-free.
Okay.
Whatever position that you hold within the government or within the society, it is unbelievable that a normal human being can be arrested with unknown people. They are abducted, then you pay or you have others sodomize him at the glare of the others as he was groaning and crying. And I'm told that he was thrown in a dustbin. He was put in a sack. I don't know. That is what I get to read. Okay. So this kind of acts must be stopped in this country for us to move. Okay. So that is my opinion. Okay,
fair enough. Mr. Day, I know you want to say something, but we're running out of time. Let's just take a breather. We'll come back and then...
Yeah, but on that matter on Mombasa, I need to speak about it.
We're running out of time. I'll give you time later on to comment on that. Now, on that particular note, we just take a brief breather, and then we'll be back with the big conversation this particular morning regarding DP, regarding Gachagwa's ouster motion that is set to be tabled later on today in the National Assembly.